Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Yeah. Welcome into Purple Daily NFL Takes. Purple Daily is just not enough for us. So we've got our Vikings takes every single day, 7 days a week, all year round, but it can't contain all of our football takes. So this is a brand new, as of a few weeks ago, spin-off show here on Purple Daily where we dish our NFL takes. And tomorrow is franchise tag season starting. We got the Combine coming up in a week from now. And then the NFL league year turns over in 3 weeks, boys. Are we excited?
Are you kidding?
It's a great time to be alive.
Forget January 1st. You know, that's passé. The beginning of the league year is when the year starts.
Time for the new league year. Time for the new league year.
Oh, it's just great. Because then it's on. It's on. You know what? The turn of the actual year.
It's time for the league year. It is time to sign some guys.
If you think about it, right? First of all, the most overrated day on the calendar is December 31st, New Year's Eve, right? It's always a letdown. And then January 1st is sort of a lazy day. Like, it's like, you know, you've been through all the holidays, and it's like, oh, it's January 1st.
And now you're sad for, like, seasonal depression.
And half the world's like, oh, I'm going to stop drinking, you know? So no fun there. When you look at the league year, how does it start? It starts, first of all, it's brilliant because it starts at like 3 Central, and it starts with these signings. Like, can you imagine if January 1st, if there was an equivalent to the excitement that you feel the day the league year starts?
Dude, I mean, yeah, we talked on Purple Daily. Like, we really need a ball dropping ceremony, a football drop.
You don't hear about dry March. No dry March.
No. So, okay, I'm going to sling the first take here. We'll just go around the room and sling some NFL takes. I have for you guys 6 available established NFL quarterbacks, most of them free agents, one of them not a free agent but seems to be available potentially. So essentially the 6 top available quarterbacks. And my take is where all 6 should land. Not where they will land, but where I think they should land.
Sure.
Combination of fun for the NFL, combination of a good move for the player. I'm going to go through these 6, and you guys tell me if I'm smoking something or if you agree. All right? Let's start with Matthew Stafford, whose wife went on a podcast recently and kind of aired out the organization. They're clearly not happy about, like, the Cooper Kupp thing is kind of blown up, that the Rams are going to release Cooper Kupp or try to trade him. So Matthew Stafford is at this crossroad. Do I stay in Los Angeles, or I'm just, I don't know, maybe that relationship has kind of run its course, or do I try to force my way somewhere else in my late 30s? So I'm going to send Matthew Stafford to the Giants. Not for the 3rd overall pick.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to give up the 3rd overall pick. But I could see, I mean, hell, even like a high 2nd round pick would be for a 37-year-old, and the Rams can move on to their next thing and have that draft capital. But it feels like he wants out. For the Giants side, okay, you got a head coach who almost got fired, a general manager almost got fired.
Yep.
Are those guys, A, going to want a rookie quarterback who may or may not be awful right out of the gate, right? Mm-hmm. B, do they think they have time? And if you're the Giants, you've been bad for a long time. You whiffed on Daniel Jones and you ran that thing for 6 years. You're looking at the other teams in your division, the Commanders and Jaden Daniels. Are you going to draft a quarterback this year that can get you to where the Commanders are? The Eagles just dominated the Super Bowl. Or would you want to jumpstart this thing and say, you know, we'll figure out the next 10 years at quarterback later. Let's just get better right now with Matthew Stafford in a really competitive division.
I love it.
And it's worth our high 2nd round pick.
Stafford with the Giants makes perfect sense. And then if you keep they've got the 3rd pick, right, in the draft. So
yep.
if you keep that pick and, you know, let's say you go defense, or how about this? Travis Hunter gets picked and he plays wide receiver there too. So now you've got 2 big threats. And the good thing about Stafford is stability. Like he would bring you instant stability, which by the way, you're badly lacking right now. So yeah, I love it.
I could see them trading back too. They need offensive line help. Like I could see them trading back, pick up an extra couple picks. Also to be mentioned here is that Chad Hall was hired as the Giants' assistant quarterbacks coach. He is the brother-in-law of Matthew Stafford. So there's a lot of steam there. There's been some national speculation. So Stafford to the Giants. Well, that leaves an opening for the Rams. So I'm going to send Sam Darnold to a perfect situation for him. Go back to Southern California where you played college and were a superstar. The Rams would get 10 years younger at quarterback. They bring on a really talented dude who just graduated from. Now he kind of stumbled at the graduation ceremony.
He fell off the stage.
He fell off the stage.
Chevy Chase style.
At Quarterback Rehabilitation University. But it's a very similar offensive system for him to thrive in. You got Puka Nacua, you got a weapon there, Sean McVay. It would be a perfect landing spot for Darnold. The Rams would get 10 years younger with a high-end starting quarterback. $40 million a year. You can manage that. It's still $20 million less than the Cowboys are paying Dak Prescott. So Darnold to the Rams.
Yeah, and KO could tell McVay all the secrets and just forget those last 2 games. It does make some sense. It definitely makes some sense. And I do think it'd be the perfect market. Like, again, I think Sam going back east would be, I just think his personality, which, for the most part, I think it's fair to say thrived here. Yeah, if he goes and plays for like the Rams, it's a perfect setting for Sam. So yes, so far I think you're a very solid 2 for 2.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay, that brings us to Aaron Rodgers, who apparently, according to reports, begged the Jets
this is so pathetic.
to keep him for another year, maybe 2.
This is so pathetic. To which, of course, he'll go on McAfee show and, mock the reporters, the reports.
I don't know why you would, like, if you're him, why would you want to stay there at this point? It didn't work. I get that you kind of forced Devontae Adams to come join you, but they're probably going to move on from him too. They're going to move on from him. You guys could probably work your way together somewhere else. So I'm sending Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. Because they desperately need a quarterback. They're not in a position in a weak quarterback class drafting second half of the draft in the 20s or whatever. They're not in a spot to be in the mix for Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward. So they're still a year away from maybe even being in the mix to draft a quarterback. Mm-hmm. They need a guy. Rodgers is here for 1 year. You need someone to get the ball to George Pickens and just not be 25th in points per game or whatever they were. And there's always been this mutual admiration between Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers, just like mutual football respect. You can see it in their eyes when they're matched up against each other. And I think if Rodgers gets any whiff that a head coach is weak or doesn't quite know what he's doing, if he has an inch of disrespect for that head coach, it gets toxic. Mm-hmm. I think Tomlin's one of a handful of head coaches in the league that Rodgers would fall in line for, and that could probably clap Rodgers and still maintain some respect. So we're gonna find out, because it might end in a fiery car crash. But based on what the Steelers need, and based on Rodgers looking for just a better chance to end his career in a stable fashion and maybe make a run, I'm putting Aaron Rodgers back in yellow pants. Steelers.
And he should retire, but he clearly won't, and so
his ego won't let him retire.
Yeah,
right?
The Steelers are now in that, like, oh my God, we got to find a QB, Russell Wilson, right? Oh my God, we got to find a QB. So I could see it. I could see it being a complete wreck,
Disaster.
which would be awesome to watch. It would be
but
great.
the Steelers, and you know what, it might wind up actually, I don't know how close the Steelers themselves are to moving on from Tomlin. The fans there have been really unhappy with the lack of playoff wins. Would a train wreck year with Aaron Rodgers then jumpstart?
Right.
Only the fourth new coaching era in 60 years for the Steelers.
And Pickens is nuts too. So
that could be an issue.
How would that work? But it would be glorious to watch from afar.
Yep. Okay, that brings us to Kirk Cousins, who technically is not a free agent yet. And the Falcons have hilariously continued to say publicly, hey, we think he can be a great best backup quarterback in the league. He has a trigger point on his contract. There's a bunch of money for 2026 that becomes guaranteed. It's the classic Kirk Cousins contract structure where If he's on the roster at a certain point in March, then next year's contract starts to become fully guaranteed. So you have to make these decisions like a year in advance on Cousins. And if you're the Falcons, there's no way you continue to pay him more money to be your backup quarterback. It's awkward. So it's a game of chicken that the Falcons are going to ultimately lose. They're going to release him at some point in the next few weeks. He's going to become a free agent, and he will be able to sign for essentially the veterans minimum because he has offsetting. If he were to sign for $20 million,
yeah, he wouldn't do that.
it's like it only eats into
Russell
what
Wilson.
Yep.
He wants to screw the Falcons as bad as he feels they
Correct.
screwed him. So it makes perfect sense. I love it.
So here's what's going to happen. Kirk Cousins, Las Vegas Raider.
Oh, okay.
Cousins
I was guessing
plus
Browns. Okay.
And here's what would happen. I could see Browns. But the Browns have some weird stuff going on with Myles Garrett. The Browns are also drafting second. They're very likely to draft a quarterback. The Raiders might also wind up having a Shedeur Sanders fall. I think with Cousins, I think you would say, listen, man, come on out to Nevada. Come on out to the desert. Pete Carroll is here with open arms. It's a one-year thing. You're a transition quarterback at this point.
Yep.
But come on out here and have some fun with us in the desert for a year. We may draft your replacement, but you're just going to have to be cool with that. That's the stage in your career that you're at right now. And then we're going to spend all of our cap space, $100 million or whatever it is in cap space, to build this roster up. We're going to get you a weapon or two. We're gonna build this thing back up for you. I could see Browns. I also think that's just a toxic organization right now. And it's Cleveland, Ohio. Like, I don't know, man. I could we'll see. But I'm sending Cousins to the Raiders.
So what you're saying is that John Spytek is going to give Kirk a call.
That's correct. Spytek. John Spytek.
John who? John Spytek.
Do you think the Browns make more sense because of the Kevin Stefanski connection?
Yes, and I also think now if they're going to draft one, then no. But if or perhaps like the Falcons, it makes perfect sense. But I think the Stefanski connection, and I think the fact that the Browns, no matter what they do at quarterback because of Deshaun, are going to have to go on the cheap, and Kirk would come cheap. But I could see this. Like Pete Carroll provides a stability that the Raiders have not had in ages. And so does, quite frankly, probably John Spytek.
Yeah.
The other question, though, that we have that we don't know the answer to there is, who does Tom Brady like? Because he's going to have a huge call.
I think he likes, I mean, in terms of just, Brady likes the professional, studious, accurate. That's who, Cousins is in a lot of ways a diet Tom Brady. He had late round pick.
Very thin Tom Brady.
It's like the Coke Zero and the diet that's built into one, and that is Kirk Cousins. There's 0 calorie. There's diet.
He's a wafer. He's just a little wafer.
Yeah.
Tom Brady.
But both guys were kind of rejected through the draft process. Both guys were brought in to be backups. Both guys won their job not because of their athletic ability, but because of their smarts at the line of scrimmage, their studious nature, right? I mean, Brady obviously has a championship pedigree and edge and another level or 10 that Cousins never got to.
Right.
Okay, Russell Wilson. I know people like, well, the Raiders, right? I think there's a reason why Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson had a little falling out there a few years ago. I don't know that Pete is looking to end his career back with Russell Wilson. So I'm going to say Russell Wilson to the Titans on a 1-year contract. I don't think the Titans love this draft class, so this would give the Titans a chance, and they could do this with any number of guys. Like they could do it with Kirk, they could do this with Aaron Rodgers, but I'm saying they'll do it with Russell Wilson. We got Wilson, we got Levis, so it's like 1 year of let those guys battle it out. We're going to build our roster by drafting edge rusher Carter from Penn State or trading back, and they can stockpile some draft capital, get their roster some improvements, and then worry about long-term quarterback solution in 2026. Because they're not going to be drafting 25th in 2026 at this rate. So
right.
I'm sending Russell Wilson to Tennessee.
All right. Yeah, that's a weird one too, because I am, again, I think I brought this up last week. I'm not convinced that Callahan's a good coach. So it might make sense. And they've got a new GM now. So I wonder if they would, draft like the edge rusher, bring in Wilson, fail again, and then have the new GM blow out the coach, and then just start with a new coach and quarterback in 26.
Totally. And then that brings us to the Jets, who clearly are in we need to build a culture mode, which is good. Go build a culture, say goodbye to Aaron Rodgers. So I think a perfect one-year flyer and stopgap would be Justin Fields. Also, you're kind of doing the opposite. You got this 39, 40-year-old statuesque quarterback who can't, if there's any pressure at all with a leaky offensive line, Rodgers is toast. Right. Justin Fields can keep some plays alive. You'd have a dynamic running game with Breece Hall, Justin Fields, and then if Garrett Wilson sticks around, you got some weapons there. Mm-hmm. So as the Jets look to build their roster and their culture, maybe looking more ahead to 2026 before they draft another quarterback, I could see that. So that would the only other team really that would be desperate for a quarterback that I left blank is the Browns. I could see the Browns going the Cousins route. I also think they're going to draft a guy at number 2. It makes sense. So Fields to the Jets, Wilson to the Titans, Cousins to the Raiders, Rodgers to the Steelers, Darnold to the Rams, Stafford to the Giants. I'd say Browns and Raiders grabbing Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And then Shedeur, let's say Shedeur goes to the Raiders at 6 or something, and they would just replace Cousins after 6 weeks or something.
Join the club. Oh, this is great to have.
That's where he's at.
Hold on a second. We're going to draft a quarterback. Wait, hold on a second. Oh, we're drafting a quarterback too.
He's not in a position to dictate at this point whether you do or don't draft a quarterback, unfortunately for him. He found out quickly he wasn't last year either, by the way.
How quickly do you guys think that if Kirk is to play a year there, that he then goes back, and the biggest regret of his entire career is the fact that he didn't spend it solely in a place that has no state income tax? Like he'll be like, what was I doing? Like,
yeah, I think he's got plenty either way.
The income, he can never have enough. That's what's quite clear, right? He can never have enough. He'll be like, this Las Vegas thing is the best thing ever. What was I doing?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, good luck to him. And that's where I've got him going.
There we go. Dex, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. In fact, so I'll keep this a little quick because I now have an idea of Dex's next tiers. And I'm going to give you Super Bowl tiers on a future episode of NFL Takes. Because I saw this from Bucky Brooks over the weekend on NFL.com. So he has 8 of the biggest Super Bowl windows right now entering this offseason. So the Eagles are still 1.
Yeah.
The Lions are 2. The Chiefs are 3. So the Chiefs have fallen down to 3 there. Mm-hmm. Ravens 4. No surprise. Green Bay Packers, number 5. Chargers 6. Commanders 7. Texans 8. So those are the 8 biggest Super Bowl windows right now. I do feel like if the Packers have a very good draft, they're not big spenders in free agency, but if they continue their draft and develop plan, they are one good offseason away from probably being legitimate contenders. You know, the Chargers I'm very critical of, obviously, of Justin Herbert, but they're losing a bunch of guys on defense, too. Like, I don't know if they can just overhaul that. They have a really good coach that helps overcompensate things, but I think that might be a little high. Washington, obviously, what we saw from Jaden Daniels, I get why people are obviously buying that. And the Texans, they've won playoff games in back-to-back years with C.J. Stroud. They probably still feel a level below like the Ravens and the Chiefs and even the Bills, but they are obviously have been in the mix the last few years. I don't hate this list, but I think this will segue into a good Dex's next Super Bowl tiers. That will be my next tiers list here on NFL Takes on a future.
Are you guys
episode.
offended that the Vikings are not among those 8 teams?
No, because you don't know. From a national perspective, there's a few things. First of all, we think that McCarthy is going to be good, but we don't know that for certain. And if you're a national person, like...
Make them prove it.
Well, and you don't know, like, nationally, I mean, there's still steam that Darnold's going to be back, or is McCarthy the guy? And I think there's no question that there is going to be, and this is not breaking news, probably regression from 14 wins. So no, it doesn't offend me. I think dropping the Chiefs down is interesting because I think that's spot on. I think 3 might be too high. I think the Chiefs are, like, at some point in time here, you're seeing they're aging out to a certain point, right? The defense was good, but offensively, Mahomes is still great. But I mean, Kelsey is nothing close to being the guy that he was previously. So I think starting to drop the Chiefs down to like 3 is a very fair, astute thing.
But the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are such cheat codes, and even like Spags as a defensive coordinator, I'm okay dropping them a little bit. Yeah. I'd like to know the exact definition, because if it's widest Super Bowl window, the Lions feel like
that's a good one.
Maybe a year or two here, but maybe that's all you're operating on in the NFL, because who can really predict what anyone's going to look like in 3 years? But like, I would even fight for the Bengals as long as you have Joe Burrow and if he stays healthy. And that organization's been kind of a mess, but as long as you have Joe Burrow, who not that long ago, like 3 years ago, dragged a bad offensive line and questionable defense to a Super Bowl. It was 2021. It was against the Rams. Mm-hmm. So, and then Vikings, I'm okay with. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Packers over the Vikings, but the Packers have a really good young roster. They're not always big spenders in free agency, but they do have quite a bit of cap space here too. So, and right now they know more about their quarterback situation, even if you have flaws with Jordan Love, than the Vikings, until JJ McCarthy proves it.
Yes, exactly.
That's fair. Okay.
All right. My statement, or take dovetails off your list, Phil, because I think there's a team missing now. I think there's another quarterback team in the mix that we're sleeping on because of their lateness into the hiring a head coach game, and that is the Saints. Do we really think Kellen Moore is going to keep Derek Carr? Like, Derek Carr, I'm excited to work with. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure about that. So I think the Saints are very much in the mix in like these conversations about who does what. Now the Saints have some severe salary cap constraints, but I also think that there is a definite discussion Cleveland does too. I think there's a definite discussion to be had about, like, could Kirk Cousins be courted by the Saints? Who does Kellen Moore want? So I think we have another team very much in the mix here. Because Derek Carr has become a journeyman now, and Kellen Moore is going to have his own ideas. And it's very interesting if you've seen the quarterbacks that he's worked with in like the last 3 stops or so. So I think we need to add the Saints to the discussion point of quarterback carousel.
So to that point, Derek Carr, and it's like in a vacuum, you could do a lot worse than Derek Carr for like a bridge quarterback. All right, we're just looking for a professional to come in here for a year.
Yep.
You know, he can go through streaks where he's very competitive. But here's the thing. He has a $51.5 million cap hit for 2025. Like you said, on a team so right now, let me pull this up on Over the Cap. So right now, the Saints are $54 million over the cap for 2025. And they play this game every year where this goes back years and years. They just have been kicking the can down the road. And they're sitting here like 34-year-old Derek Carr has a $51 million cap hit. 36-year-old Cam Jordan has a $20 million cap hit. And because of the way that they have backloaded the accounting on these contracts, like if you cut Cam Jordan, you actually eat $4 million more as a cap penalty. But what you could do with Derek Carr, you could cut him before June 1st, and you could save $1.3 million, which doesn't help you much with your $54 million. That's how much you're over the cap. If you cut him and designated it post June 1st, you would save $21.5 million on this year's cap. Now you're getting back. You got to get below zero in the next 3 weeks.
Right.
And then you would shove the other whatever $20-some million into, or $30 million into your 2026 books. So to your point, you're spot on. They might have no choice but to cut Derek Carr as a post June 1st designation just to get under a certain number to start your league year.
Yeah. And Kellen Moore wouldn't be crying about it. How could you? I took this job to work with Derek Carr. I don't think that's the case. So yeah, I think we definitely need to factor the Saints into our future discussions about the quarterback carousel.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they're
I'm-
drafting 9th, so there's a chance a quarterback could fall there too.
I'm a Kellen Moore stan. Still love him. I'm excited to see what he does with New Orleans, whether it's with Derek Carr or with a new quarterback. But, I mean, he took Dak Prescott and that Cowboys offense. They were the number one offense in the NFL his second to last year or last year as the OC in Dallas. He's been with Herbert. He's been with Jalen Hurts. He's been with Saquon Barkley in that crazy running game. And the dude was a huge winner in college. Like, I'm excited to see what he does with New Orleans, whether it's with Carr or someone else. I think the Saints can actually be still competitive and relevant in 2025 with Kellen Moore leading it.
Yeah, it almost seems like, and I'd be curious to know what New Orleans local media is saying, because they're probably coming to the same conclusion that, boy, if you start to go through this roster, you have to cut Derek Carr post June 1st designation just to get under a certain number. But if they do that, picking 9th, you're not guaranteed to have a quarterback fall into your lap. I guess you could trade up and assure yourself. But if let's say they feel like, okay, we don't know what's going to happen in the draft. We hope a quarterback falls, but we do need a solution for 2025 now that Carr's gone. You could bring in Kirk Cousins for like $1.5 million on a veteran minimum contract because it's offsetting. Justin Fields, hey man, you want a shot?
Oh, yeah.
You want to start for a full year with a really good offensive coach, and let's see if you can actually play.
It'd be good. Yeah.
I could see that too. In fact, wouldn't that be like, I mean, I think at this point, Justin Fields probably is who he is, but he has played exclusively under either defensive head coaches or the Bears who have no idea what they're doing. And if you say, all right, dude, you're going to get a chance, and it's not the perfect roster, but they got a couple weapons there in New Orleans, and you're going to have Kellen Moore working with you on a regular basis. I think Justin Fields could be a fun option for the Saints.
Yeah, and I think if Justin Fields is used correctly, he's not a disaster. I'm not saying he's great, but he's not his time in Pittsburgh was not awful. So yes, I could easily see that. And look, the Saints are probably going to, in reality, next season going to be bad. But Kellen Moore's job is not in jeopardy. So then you draft a quarterback or something like that. Yes, I just think that because the Saints, and it's to their credit, waited so long to hire Moore that we sort of forgot about them. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're going to become a very interesting quarterback landing spot now. And, Kurt makes sense again because he's going to be dirt cheap for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, hell, like if healthy, you're sitting on Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, who both, I mean, they combined to play only 13 or 14 games total between the two of them because of injuries last year.
Yeah.
But that offense, even with the old regime, man, remember they came out of the gate 2-0 and scored 47 and 44 points?
Yeah,
Clint Kubiak.
It's crazy, man.
Who's now in Seattle, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Clint
Yeah,
got the
Seattle.
OC job in Seattle.
No, they do have Spencer Rattler that they drafted last year. So to what extent, they didn't win a game with him, but to what extent do they want to give a Spencer Rattler a shot? I don't know. So, all right, boys. I think those are the NFL takes here on this Monday. If you enjoy this Purple Daily spin-off show, shall we call it, let us know. Click that like button and the subscribe button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and the like button specifically on this video, and drop us a comment too in the YouTube comment section. You can also give Purple Daily a 5-star review and a 5-star rating and a positive review over on Apple and Spotify. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us and enduring our NFL takes. We'll see you tomorrow.